What does the future hold for the diamond industry, and how do we differentiate between lab-grown diamonds and natural diamonds? That's why my guest this week is Kristy Cullinane. She is the co-founder of Plum Diamonds, a D2C made-to-order lab-grown diamond ring company. Today, Makes Sense is expanding our conversation beyond software technology and looking at the shape shifting in the precious gems industry. But first, welcome to this week's episode of Make Sense, a video podcast that simplifies complex issues at the intersection of tech and people. So, whether you're totally hyped on artificial intelligence and ready for the robot takeover, some of you are, or you want to crawl into a cave after deleting all of your social media accounts, I'm here with my guests to help make sense of what's going on so you can design yourself into the future. My name is Lindsay. I'm a product market fit strategist and innovation advisor. I've always been obsessed with designing technology for people. So let's get started. Kristy, how are you? Welcome.
Hi. Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting. It's going to be fun.
I'm so excited to learn more about what you are up to with Plum Diamonds. We met briefly in an accountability group last year and
Yeah.
we've crossed paths ever since. And so I'm so happy that you are able to join us on Make Sense.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm excited too.
All right, so you have an idea of how this goes. We have segments, and to start off, my favorite segment is Crystal Ball. What does the future hold? This is where I call out interesting predictions for this year, and the experts, my guests, tell us their hot take. I'm gonna do kind of rapid fire ish, and I want you to say like, yes, I want that to happen, or yes, that is already happening, or no, that's definitely not going to happen this year, and or I don't want that to happen. And at the end, we'll continue the conversation to talk more about diamonds and other headlines that come up. Okay.
Great.
Okay, so this is a fun one, and it's a headline I haven't yet mentioned on Make Sense. So, wearing mushrooms and seaweed. Designers and manufacturers are turning to plant-based solutions. Do you want this to happen? Do you know if it's happening? What do you think?
I think it's great because it's innovation and new technology and textiles and materials. And so I'm not sure how much of it is happening now. I know some is, I believe, but I think it's definitely going to happen.
It's heading in the right direction. It
Yeah.
sounds like we should explore all of our options given how much waste
Yeah.
the fashion industry creates, right?
100%. Right.
Awesome. So we are for figuring out if mushrooms and seaweed can be our clothes.
I'm
Second,
for it.
I'm for it. Secondhand fashion. Old
Mhm.
clothes are a big business, particularly brands are starting to own more of the resale of their clothes. Know anything about this? Seen any of it out in the wild?
Yeah, of course. I mean, resale is everywhere. I think the problem is that we have a lot of fast fashion, and now that's in resale as well. So it's kind of creating. I don't know. I support it. I think it's wonderful. Obviously, reusing and rewearing and resale is a wonderful part of sustainability.
Hmm.
Some of it maybe just isn't really as sustainable as it might look on the surface.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're reselling, not to pick on like an H&M or Forever
Right.
21, but like reselling that clothes, it's like they only have so many wears before they pill and tear apart.
Right.
But definitely on the luxury end and the
Mhm.
higher quality brands, it's great to see them owning or trying to own the market that's reselling
Mhm.
their products to new customers. Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. Third, live shopping will grow, particularly in the United States. So I'd love to know what you know about live shopping or streaming shopping. Have you thought about it at all for Plum Diamond?
For our product category, it's something that's really considered. So it usually takes people days, weeks, sometimes months or even years to kind of make a decision, believe it or not. So, there's probably a time and a place. Um, but I don't know a ton about live shopping in terms of other fashion and, other categories.
Yeah, so we had another guest, you might know her, Liz Kressel, who was
Mhm.
on talked about live shopping, and it's
Mhm.
very fascinating because it kind of takes the idea of QVC.
Mhm.
um, the brand can own it on their website, and it combines content and community. So uh,
Mhm.
you might have a workshop or webinar guest speaker who's going to talk about the difference between lab grown and mined diamonds. And it's supposed to be educational, but obviously
Mhm.
it's on your website, and people in the community, maybe people that have purchased Plum Diamonds, are in the chat answering potential customers' questions. So it sounds really exciting. I haven't yet participated in it, but there's a reason QVC and Home Shopping Network exists, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it really bridges, people and technology because people want to deal with people, I think, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
in most cases. So especially when it's something like a piece of jewelry. So that is very cool, very exciting.
Awesome. Cool. So that brings us to our next segment. What do you know? So this is where us relatively intelligent, you know, tech or, entrepreneur insiders discuss what kind of hot messes are making the national news. We don't claim to be experts. We just might have thought about it a little more
Mhm.
than others. So, Kristy, you wrote me that you find this interesting, the TikTok debate and whether it's safe,
Mhm.
whether we should use it. What have you learned and what can you share with us?
Well, I can obviously see how important it is for so many brands and entrepreneurs, and um, it's an important part of our economy, like it or not. I understand the controversy around it being Chinese owned, and that there are some concerns around, defense and other security issues, which are a really big deal. And I said I was interested in it. I don't know what my opinion is, but it is so interesting because we're so wrapped up in so much that China does. Like, if we ban TikToks, does that mean that we need to start banning other things that are coming from
Mhm.
China? And I understand, the difference, being that the Chinese government is, obviously more involved in one over the other and influence of one over the other. But it's just very interesting to me because so many of us are dependent on it for our businesses.
Yeah.
And it'll just be really interesting to see how this shakes out. And I know that there's a lot going on in the government, in terms of conversations and potential legislation. And I haven't really followed it in the last couple of weeks, so I couldn't tell you exactly, but it is fascinating because it's such a big deal. So many
Yeah.
of us use it.
So, a quick question. Do you
Yeah.
use it for Plum Diamonds?
We do. Yeah, we do. It's hilarious how varying the success is, right? Because, you know, we have weeks that we're just like, what are we doing wrong? Nothing, we're not getting any traction. And then other times, it's like lightning in a bottle. So we're on there every day, just consistently. And we know people are reaching us because they tell us, or that
Right.
people are finding us there because they'll tell us. So, I think it's a great way to talk to customers.
Yeah, so I briefly forayed into TikTok content
Yeah.
creation. Back in 2020, TikTok had the initiative called the Creative Learning Fund in response to COVID. They created cohorts of creators, gave them a $1,500 stipend to create 40 videos over a 2 month period, like instructional videos. So I was lucky enough to be part of, the second or third cohort and created 40 videos, and the stipend is like chump change compared to how much time it
Yeah.
can take to create these. Like, it takes a long time to create a really great, like 10-20 second
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, after that, I really didn't want to be on TikTok anymore. It drove me nuts, and like my audience wasn't really there. Now, maybe my audience is there now, 2.5 years later.
Mhm.
Um, but I can share with you this because I did do some upfront searching around TikTok and get some more details. Okay, so first and foremost, uh, a lot of Chinese products, and including TikTok, have like backdoors.
Mhm.
And in China, a company and tech company of a certain size is required to have these backdoors for Chinese government to access that data. Now, we might say, oh, we have all those data problems and privacy issues in the US, but the US has no rules or laws that force
Mhm.
our tech companies to share their data with the government, whereas in China they do. The terms of service are kind of chock full of red flags around security permissions and data collection. They often, the app copies anything you have copied to a clipboard while you're using the phone, the app is on a regular
Oh, wow.
basis saving it, right? And the problem is that there's the TikTok is doing a lot of, as one redditor said, weird shit that it
Mhm.
shouldn't be, but we can't prove it's doing anything malicious with it. Just
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, there are all the data concerns, and then there's just the influence. You
mhm,
know, kids are my husband is a high school teacher, and so he can tell you firsthand. I mean, these kids are spending like 12 hours a day on TikTok. It's just insane, and it's just like you said. There's no proof that anything is happening now, but it could happen, and it's just very influential, and
mhm.
it's just it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Right, right. I think, before the information wars went wild on Facebook and Twitter,
Mhm.
there were concerns, but there wasn't a lot of evidence, so hopefully we don't have to wait until such a big negative impact to find out that we should have been more concerned ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So that brings us to our next segment, the deep dive. I want to talk more about lab grown diamonds. Maybe you can just
Let's do
tell
it.
us really quickly the origin story. How'd you settle on this as the business that you're going to start and grow?
Yeah. So I've been in jewelry for a really, really long time. I've taken a couple detours throughout my career, but I've always come back to jewelry in one way or another. And between being in the industry for a long time and myself getting engaged years ago, I knew that there had to be something better, and there actually was something better than Mind Diamonds in terms of ethical and sustainable impact, as well as affordability. And so, my most recent history, like in the last 5 years, I have been president of a jewelry store downtown Chicago, where our clientele just really runs the gamut, but a lot of more kind of affluent customers coming in looking for diamonds and engagement rings. And more, they were choosing lab grown. And it wasn't even for the price, it was just for the values and the priorities. And, it didn't take long till we were like, hang on, it's growing and we can do such a great job at it because we've been doing it for a really long time. Us being a retailer that was born from a manufacturer. So really, if I back up all the way, we're a manufacturer at heart. The
Mhm.
company has been manufacturing for decades. So we can just do it really, really well. And we saw that demand was growing, and it's such a great product. And I feel so passionately about it that it was just totally a no brainer to take it online and, reach a larger audience.
Okay, cool. So, do you still have a relationship with that manufacturer and store? Is Plum
Yes,
Diamonds
sister
like a
store.
subsidiary? Yeah.
Yep, sister store. And Plum Diamonds is my baby, and
Oh.
I'm one of the founders. But we've got this great support system and this wonderful infrastructure of an amazing team, an amazing product that is just really, has been battle tested for a long time.
So when you say that it's more affordable,
Yep.
what are we talking compared to a mine diamond? Is it 50% of the price, 75%? How much are we?
Yeah.
What's the comparison?
It depends on the diamond, exactly. It depends on the size. I think I just read that nationally, on average, a 1 carat lab diamond is around 1,600,
Hmm.
and a 1 carat mine diamond is between 5 and 10,000. So there's a big difference, and markets fluctuate. So what happened in the last 2 years, 3 years, is that the value of mine diamonds went up and then came back down to kind of normal levels. And the value of lab diamonds has been going down. So I should say the prices of each has been going down as the lab diamond industry is growing and new manufacturers are emerging. So we're still kind of waiting to see where the prices end up, but it's a great product that is just such a better choice for anyone who's got ethics, sustainability, and affordability, in mind.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
we're talking price point wise, 15 to 35% of a mine diamond, a lab diamond.
correct. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a big deal.
It is. And people, a lot of people look at mine diamonds as a financial investment. And so they kind of try to make that comparison that one's an investment and one is not an investment. But the truth is that no matter what kind of diamond you have, whether it's a lab diamond or a mine diamond, if you go to sell that diamond, in the resale market, you're going to get anywhere from like 30 to 50%, maybe a little bit more if it's a really special mine diamond. But
Mhm.
a mine diamond is just like a car. As soon as you drive it
Yeah.
off the lot, like the value just plummets. And so it's really, we really discourage people from thinking of any type of diamond as a financial investment, because it's just not. It's
Yeah.
for sentimentality, permanence, love, beauty. It's not part of your investment portfolio.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the eco-friendliness.
Mhm.
I call myself an expensive granola bar. Hippie,
Yeah.
hippie, hippie child of the planet at
Yeah.
heart. Um, so like what's the current status of mined diamonds and their climate impact and, human impact? Because I know there's a lot of human labor involved
Yeah.
compared to lab diamonds.
So mine diamonds just have a huge footprint when it comes to the mining activities, what it takes to extract 1 carat out of the ground. I mean, we've all seen the giant craters that can be seen from space. And then when the mines dry up, which they do eventually do, and the big companies leave, then these big craters and all of their waste are left for the local communities to contend with. So in terms of biodiversity and agricultural and just wildlife destruction that happens, it's just on a massive scale. Um, Mine or lab diamonds are all a little bit different. Some labs are better than other labs, right?
Mhm.
So it is true that many labs are still using coal to power them. So there is that element that we're like, hang on, we need to get a little bit better here, because yeah, that's still like objectively
Problem.
much better, or yeah, much better than mine diamonds, but that's still a problem. And so what's happening is that more labs are emerging and doing some really cool stuff. One lab that we work with creates diamonds from carbon that they're capturing from the air, from the Swiss Alps. Actually, it's very cool. So they're carbon negative. So they're
That's
they're
amazing.
like, yeah, they're pulling carbon out of the air. So that's how they're powering their or their lab diamonds. And so it's it's To me, there's just like no comparison. We're not perfect yet on the lab side, but just the scale and the aftermath of kind of destruction is eliminated.
Mm, mm. So, with any disruptive product, there's always going to be old guards that profit from the old
Mhm.
model, in this case, mind diamonds. When I was doing some research ahead of this podcast, one industry insider claimed that synthetic diamonds destroy the underlying value of natural diamonds. I have some thoughts on how I could answer it now that you've educated me, but what do you think?
Yeah. So you can't. Mine diamond isn't. Yeah, they could. I don't know how to. I don't know how to answer that because you can't eat like a mine diamond is not money, right? It's only valuable because we're putting value on it. And so yeah, if we all say, hang on a minute, we're not going to buy into the marketing and the expensive advertising that we've been fed for so long, and we actually don't think that this is that valuable because look, we can get something that's chemically, physically, optically the same, without the destruction. Then yeah, then that value that we, especially young people, put on mine diamonds is going to go down. And I'll tell you what, they're not even that rare. They're not the rarest gemstone on earth. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And, so I think that is a valid concern. And I think that that is something that that the mine diamond industry is concerned about. I mean, the demand is just exploding for lab diamonds because people feel like they don't want, they just don't want to wear a mine diamond. They don't want to make that choice for whatever their ethical sustainability or, affordability reasons are. So, as they capture more market share, why wouldn't kind of the old guard be a little, you know?
Well,
But
the way
it's never going to go away. Like mine diamonds are always going to be a symbol of luxury and wealth.
when I read the question, I immediately went to what you said about the diamonds. You purchase a mine diamond and like a car, the
Yeah.
value goes down as a secondhand diamond. It doesn't get better, right?
No.
It's not like a painting, right? Um,
Right.
because they're not so rare. There's only so
Right.
many Matisses and Renoirs out there, right?
Right. And there
So,
are special gems. Like at
right,
Sotheby's, you can find very special gems. That's different. We don't own
right.
those.
But I can't help but when I think about this old guard saying this, that,
Yeah.
it's ruining natural diamonds, I can't help but think of Kodak, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Kodak is so well known for just, screwing the pooch on digital cameras.
Yeah.
Um, and if they understood that they were in the business of capturing life's precious moments,
Hmm.
then their product would have naturally evolved to use new technology. So if the people that are in the mine diamond business realize that they are in the business of, providing love, beauty, care,
Hmm.
relationships, it wouldn't matter whether it was mined or um, or lab grown,
Hmm.
right? But if they stay too fixed in, mine diamonds are it, they're
Yeah.
gonna leave.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And I think two things to keep in mind. One is that they've got inventory. So it's kind of like coal in the sense that it's they own the land, right? They've invested in the mines, they have the inventory, or they've got it stockpiled or whatever. So they have to make sure that those prices stay up. And then
Hmm.
the other thing is that what one of this just reminds me of this, one of the first big investors in lab grown technology was De Beers.
Mm.
And, they're obviously famous for mine diamonds. And, I think the, the idea is that they have their own brand right now of lab grown diamonds. But I think they just really want to keep those prices really low to really showcase a difference between the two products.
Hmm.
And that's okay because there is a difference. Like I think that they're two different products, two different consumers. Like there are always going to be people who are they just really want something that just costs a lot more, and it's but I don't know. I feel like it could kind of get a little into the fur territory,
Yeah.
like
Right.
fur is,
Right.
you know, we've gone through this with fur a little bit.
Right. I will say that I think when this guy like is saying, synthetic diamonds destroy the underlying value, I can't
Mm.
help but think one of the things he's referring to is status, right?
Mm. Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
that
Hmm.
having a big rock on your finger means someone dropped 50,
Hmm.
100, $200,000 in their profession of love to you. Um,
Right.
and that if you have an equally big rock, but income wise you're not in that same bracket, that
Yeah.
it's like a false pretense of sorts, which
Sure.
is BS, but I can't
Yeah.
help but think that that's in between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people who are going to care about that are the ones who would drop $100,000 on a diamond, and that's just not most of us. And so, I, yeah, I think it's just really something that the industry has to wrap its head around. And I do think there's room for all of us. I think it's easy for me to kind of go on like a, passionate rant, but
Mhm.
but I get it. Mine diamonds have were made before dinosaurs roamed the earth. Like that is pretty cool, right? That is romantic. I get it. But the fact that couples, if they want to get a 2 carat, which is pretty popular now, they've got to drop $20,000, and how is that going to impact their wedding fund, their first mortgage, their nest egg? Like it's not
Right,
going to improve their lives, and it's not going to. There's no ROI. So it's just
right.
like what. I don't see trade-offs with lab diamonds. I just see benefit, benefit, benefit. It's like you get this and. So I think that's why I get very excited about them.
Right. I think it's also it's a natural reaction to the way the economy has unfolded for the
Yeah.
younger generations that are buying engagement rings, right? Like it's
Yeah.
every headline is like how economically handicapped my generation, I'm an elder millennial,
Yeah.
is, right?
Right.
And exactly to your point when you said 20,000 on a down pay, like 20,000 on a diamond is, half of a down payment for
Mhm.
a house. And, that type of there's not many younger people that are even able to enter the housing market right now. So
Right.
I can't help but lab diamonds is also just like a natural evolution of like the economic realities
Mhm.
and what people can really afford right now.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. We did
So
the math.
I
Oh,
do have one more question.
yeah, go ahead.
Can we trust that brands will disclose honestly the source of their diamonds? Because there was some speculation that, in your shopping mall jewelry stores like
Mhm.
Zales, that they might not be totally honest that the diamond, you're purchasing
Mhm.
is lab grown. Is that a fair concern?
I think that the concern, so sure, I mean, if you've got a pile of diamonds, like the little ones that go in a lot of pieces of jewelry, and they're improperly sorted, tested, yes, they can get mixed with. You can't mix your diamonds, but when you're talking about like center diamonds, um, we, I, sorry, I've I have a lot of thoughts running through my mind.
Are lab grown diamonds stamped or marked in some way to let you
Yes, bigger
know what
ones.
they are?
Yes, lab diamonds. So bigger lab diamonds have um, a inscription on them, and it does say lab grown or LG. Any diamond that's graded, or most diamonds that are graded. I guess they don't all. And then you can tell the difference between lab and mined with very specialized equipment. So if we don't even have that in our jewelry store, just on the showroom, because you treat them the same. So we don't really need to know. And all of our big diamonds are inscribed, um, but in terms of getting them mixed up, the biggest concerns are with mine diamonds when they come from questionable sources. Like right now, there are a lot of Russian diamonds that are getting through. to markets where they shouldn't be. Russia is under a lot of diamond sanctions, or a lot of economic sanctions, which include diamonds. So, if you're buying mine diamond, chances are that it is where it's supposed to be, but you can never be 100 million% sure. The Kimberley process is not foolproof.
Hmm.
And then with lab
What is the
diamonds,
Kimberly process?
the Kimberley process was developed in response to blood diamonds, conflict diamonds, to trace the origin of mine diamonds.
Hmm.
So it's meant to be you know, a it helps give consumers confidence that their diamonds aren't coming from places of conflict.
But it's
Um,
not like a perfect process. That's what you're
it's
saying.
not it's not a perfect process. So getting lab and mine mixed up, I think I just stumbled a little bit because it's not even something we really hear about a lot lately. And like,
Hmm.
there are a lot of people who don't want mine diamonds,
Hmm.
who are concerned. Like, I think you mentioned Zales or K or something. They were selling lab diamond rings, and they ran out of no, yes, they were selling lab diamond rings, and they ran out of lab diamonds, and they had to replace the lab diamonds with mine diamonds. This
Wow.
happened not too long ago, and people were upset about that. And so it's just it's interesting. But I think the biggest concern is that with a mine diamond, you never know 100 million% sure,
Okay.
where it's from. Yeah.
So I have a pop culture kind of twist question to throw out there.
Ooh.
Uh, having binge watched like three of four of the Love is Blind shows
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix. So I noticed that you shared, I know Love is Blind was in Chicago for one of
Yeah.
their seasons, and you shared that one of their contestants, Kyle,
Yeah.
got his ring from you. How did that unfold?
He's a local guy, and we've got our Ethan Lord is our sister store. We're brick and mortar. And, honestly, he was looking to get engaged, and he
Mhm.
approached us, and it just was like worked out perfectly. He's awesome. He's super nice,
Yeah.
and we just invited him in. Like I keep mentioning, we have this sister store where we have like a showroom, so we can't, if people want to come and see Plum Diamonds or talk to me or the team, we do have that space. It's just, since we're e-com, it's not like not our top sales channel. But
Right.
so he came in, and he was just great, and it was a big surprise, and we were all like giggly for having a celeb in the store and stuff. So he was
Was
great.
was
Yeah.
your was that your first foray into influencer marketing?
We've done it a couple of times with our local store,
Yeah.
and it's so much more fun with Plum because we're national, and we can just do so much more.
Hmm.
Like, people who want to work with us locally, it's so great, and we always do it. But the our reach is just so much smaller. Like, if they were a national figure, if some huge star came and wanted to work with us locally, we just couldn't do it, because if people all over the country wanted to work with that store, we couldn't accommodate them. But with
Hmm.
Plum, we can. And so we're just getting more and more. We just did another partnership with a lifestyle influencer, Ann Sage. She's awesome. And
Hmm.
we're just looking forward to doing more and more with different influencers. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. Thank you. So, our final segment is who needs a safety net? And in this segment, I asked my guests to leave us with a funny story of failing upwards. Uh, you had said we had talked about previously that it's very difficult to sell high ticket items online.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that something with your tech partners pre and post launch made it a little harder for you. What happened?
Yeah. I forgot to tighten up my story here, because it's a long and winding and
Give
it's
us the
sad
beginning
one.
and the middle and the end, just
Yeah.
real quick.
It all depends on who you're partnering with. And as a as a founder, and as someone who's very passionate about the business and building it and building the site, I was surrounded by a lot of people who always knew more than me, about their whatever area they were. Well, that didn't always mean that they were right. And I've learned, to kind of advocate, I think, sometimes a little bit better for myself. But yeah, just, I mean, we've had some serious tech adventures. We've been partnered with, not the right partners. And I just try to learn from every single experience. And I think I just get, more confident. Not that I don't know all this stuff, but I, I just, through every
Yeah,
experience, you just get a little bit wiser and kind of battle tested and or hardened, whatever.
right.
And yeah, we just keep going.
Well, you know, for any non-technical person that needs to work with the technology team, one across the board with non-technical founders, there's always tension between, outsourcing to a dev shop that can, offer a lot of Swiss Army knife support. They can swap in different technical expertise to get your project
Mhm.
done versus, relying on a single person that you bring in-house who could probably move a lot faster, but you're then, beholden to that person. And one thing that is always going to be difficult for non-technical people using technology resources is that the chasm between the way you speak and the way they speak is
Yeah.
entirely up to you to cross, because
Yeah.
very rarely will a software developer partner of mine, and I have some great ex coworkers in my, history and Rolodex, very rarely will they, in the middle of confusion, pause and ask for like clarification to get it into English terms.
Oh yeah.
So non-technical people might speak in, layman terms, but something you're calling, you know, you're using to refer to like all gems or something.
Yeah.
Well, they might have something in the database called gems, and it means something very specific to them, whereas you're
Yeah.
using it kind of colloquially and in casual language
Yeah.
part. So, one, you're not to blame for that. But two, one thing I've always used as a way to describe what I do for a living to non-technical people is that I'm like the architect and software developers are my construction workers,
Yeah.
right? So you come to me, we like lay out all the plans, we do two-dimensional drawings. If we've got
Mhm.
time, we maybe even make some prototypes. If it was a house, right, you would want maybe a three-dimensional clone on a table so you can look
Mhm.
at it from all directions. um, there's a lot of planning and strategy and understanding of the business and the consumer. But oftentimes when a non-technical person needs tech, they're just told to go straight to software developers, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so um, if you were designing your own home, you would not go straight to construction workers. You would go find an architect first,
Hmm.
maybe an interior
Yeah.
designer, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the largest mistake that non-technical founders make when they jump to the technical component of their
Yeah.
business. And then that ends up causing all of these downstream problems, including like communication of requirements and needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%. It's so important. Yeah. And it's actually almost the way that like jewelry gets made. You kind of need someone in between the person who's going to wear it and the person who's going to build it. So
mhm,
it always helps to have like a kind of a like an architect, you said.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It was very hard and we're still kind of unwinding and fixing a lot of it, but
Mhm.
we keep going and
Yeah. Well, that's the resilience part, because you can only
yeah,
thrive if you have resilience,
yes.
right? So
Yep.
to get to that position. Well,
Yeah.
I checked out your website. It's plumdiamonds.com, right?
Yep. Yep.
it's very fun to kind of look at each ring, and you can pick out different diamond shapes and different
Yes.
sizes and different settings and
Yep.
different materials. So it is a very cool, uh, interactive experience to kind of customize your own ring
Thank you.
on Plum Diamonds. So I would love it if my listeners went and checked it out. I know Kristy would love it
Thank
too.
you. Yes.
Uh, so I'm going to quickly make it make sense. Lab diamonds, they are real diamonds, but they're made in a different way.
Correct.
Uh, Kristy, you gave a great explanation. Do you want to give the ice is made, the way ice is made metaphor
Sure.
for comparing lab and real diamonds?
Yeah, let me see if I can repeat it as eloquently as I can write it. But essentially, lab diamonds, you can think of diamonds kind of like ice, right? So natural diamonds is like the ice that is made outdoors, and lab diamonds is like the ice that's made inside in a freezer. So both ice, both gonna be cold, and it's kind of like that with lab diamonds and natural diamonds.
Yeah, so you had
It's all
wrote
about the origin. Yep.
sometimes you get diamonds made in nature and sometimes you get diamonds made in a growth chamber. So, right?
100%. That's it. Yep. Yep.
Cool. So, thank you for listening to Make Sense with me, your host, Lindsay Tabus, and guest, Kristy Cullinane, co founder of Plum Diamonds. We hoped you enjoyed our take on lab grown diamonds. Kristy, where can people find you online?
Plumdiamonds.com.
Okay.
Instagram. Yep. At Plum
Instagram,
Diamonds. Yep.
TikTok, all the usual
You got
places,
it. Yep.
right? Are you Plum Diamonds on TikTok?
I think we're plum_diamonds or plum
Okay.
hyphen diamonds. You
Okay.
could be
All right.
plum diamonds or it's like an alternative account or something.
Okay. Cool.
Oh,
All right. So, if you want to continue to be the smartest person in the room, hit that subscribe button for next week's episode. We are still very much in the early days with Make Sense, and every subscriber, particularly on YouTube, makes a huge difference. As always, you can check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for the episode, and catch up with you next time. Thank you, Kristy, for joining me.
thank you. Thanks for having